Hi, I'm Stephen Lulich with Lulich and Attorneys, and this is the Lulich Corner. And today we have a very special guest, the Mayor of the Airwaves, Rhett Palmer.
Stephen, it's always good to see you. I guess we've known each other around 30 years. And I tell you something, I should have called Lulich. Whenever I get in trouble, I tell you what, these are the guys I call. Great to be on your show.
Got me going already. I love it. So, you've been on the air how many years now?
28 years, and started actually up here in Sebastian. I know you have an office in Vero Beach and Sebastian. We started up here at what used to be Hurricane Harbor. And Jack Airman, I was selling advertising for a coupon book one day, and he said, "You have personality." I'd already been on the radio once, but wasn't on it then. And he said, "You need to be on radio." He says, "I will pay for the airtime so you can be on the radio."
So you are on the air, and on what station are you on?
Now I'm on 89.9 FM WCNO, and that's 100,000 watts all the way from Melbourne down to North Miami, something like that.
Oh, really? That far down?
Well, the biggest station in our town would be Christian FM. They're 50,000 watts. Biggest station. I'm on 100,000.
Wow.
So it can actually some days, according to this fella I know in the radio business, he said, "Are you aware that sometimes it can bounce over the water and they can listen to you in Cuba?"
And when are you on?
I'm on 7 a.m. with a repeat at 3 p.m. and then another repeat at 3 a.m.
For how long are you on?
It's a 15-minute show.
15
and that's my
minute show.
Christian show where I interview people who have had experiences, conversions with Jesus as their Messiah. You know, I was into Eastern religions till I was 29. I read Autobiography of a Yogi when I was 14 years of age. At the age of 16, I went to Boston, Massachusetts. I got inducted into Transcendental Meditation. But
Is that your only show on
No, I'm not only on
Christian
there.
show, right?
Yeah, that's the Christian show, but I'm also on, we're streamed, we have a podcast. We're actually getting calls from London, and according to Apple, I was number 33 in Sweden last year, as far as podcasts.
Okay.
You know,
So
it's a little country,
so
but,
podcasts are whenever you want to go onto your site, right?
Yes, anytime you can listen to a podcast. You can download Vero's Voice. Okay, first of all, to listen to us live, you go to verosvoice.com, Rhett Palmer, Vero's Voice on Facebook. You can go Alexa.
And your regular show, though?
Just think people that are watching this in their house
Yes.
right now, I'm going to make Alexa, open Vero's Voice. Bing, all kinds of people right now going.
So, but your regular show is
On Alexa, and that's live mornings. It's also on. It's also streamed.
15 minutes every morning?
No, that show we do for 2 or 3 hours.
2 or 3 hours. That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
That show. The Christian show is 15 minutes. We take a 1-hour interview.
Okay, so I know you do your main show is a very varied show, and you have all types of
Everybody.
interviews that you do with people, right?
President Carter, President Ford, the Bushes, what's his name who ran for the president? Which Bush is that? The former governor here? Jeb, and the former governor, Scott. He was on my show 18 times. Twice I flew up there to be with him. Most of the time he would call in. But you know what's nice about Scott? Now he's a senator for us. In being on the air for 28 years, and this is an important lesson for all of us, I got maybe 15 or 16 handwritten thank yous. Stand out like a sore thumb. And I tell you what, 3 of them came from Scott.
That's very nice.
Former Governor Scott. He's a class act.
So your show has some political characters on it. Your main show.
I don't. I've been pulled into this, suckered into it. I really don't like politics and the affairs of men, but I've had to get involved. You know, throughout life, you learn more. And of course, as you get older, I don't know if this is true for you, but I like history more than ever. And I like knowing what our founding fathers wanted. The only thing is we look at our founding fathers and we think they were old white males. I hate to tell you this. They were 22 and 23 years of age. Just like Bob Dylan, the Beatles, and James Taylor.
Well, they didn't live that long either, except for a few of them. I mean,
yeah, like 40.
45.
Yeah, I'd be ancient. They'd be calling me Moses by now.
Yeah, there you go. So, but that's a big
Moses.
So the shows that you do are a big contrast between, interviewing political people and artists. I believe you interview. Right?
I'm not allowed to have any political stuff on WCNO 89.9 FM because it's strictly Christian. Because they figure no matter who you are, to the far left, to the far right, everybody has a chance to come to know the Messiah, and we all need forgiveness of our sins and renew. So that's strictly Christian.
Well, just before we opened up the podcast here, you were talking about having studied the autobiography of a guru.
That was Yogananda. Yogananda, autobiography of a yogi.
Autobiography of a yogi. And,
I read that when I was 14.
And I read it when I was 18.
There you go.
Okay, and that's going back, 40-some years, right? But, I mean, that's interesting that you're because Christian-based, and then now you're talking yogi, which is Far Eastern. Okay?
Yeah,
that's a pretty big extreme in spirituality.
Yes, I thought Jesus was a bunch of hooey, and then I didn't believe, and so I was into Eastern religions, and then all these friends started becoming Christians. Even some of my Jewish friends were converted, and they talking about Jesus as the Messiah and Yahweh, and so finally I took a chance. And I was in my living room, and I said, okay, I'll take a chance that you're the Messiah, come through the lineage of King David. That's why I have beget, because it was prophesied at King David's time, 700 years in advance, that the Messiah would come through the loins of King David. Well, both Joseph and Mary, it's undisputed, because when the Jews would write, they're called the scribes, when they would write something down, they would clean their hands three times before they would make an entry. So that follows it, who begat who, and it goes all the way back. Mary and Joseph both came from the lineage of King David. Well, anyway, so I'm in my living room down in Troy, New York. I'm a struggling young songwriter now. I'm 29 years of age. And I said, okay, I'll take a chance that you died on the cross and rose from the dead. Okay, but nothing happens. Then I said, okay, I'm a fool to live without God who created me. I said, I believe Jesus died on the cross for my sins, rose from the dead. And I said, I surrender the rest of my life to you. You be the boss of my... And that's when I had the infilling of what they call the Holy Spirit.
Awakening.
I felt the joy and peace. I said...
Some call it a born-again situation.
I said, this is what the black folks must be talking about, because it was different than happiness. I thought happiness and joy were synonyms.
Well, see, I'm a Catholic, so...
Are you?
Yeah, and so my children are some are Catholic, some are Christian, some are born again. And so, like I tell my daughter who was baptized again when she was in her late teens, okay?
Yeah.
It was originally baptized in the Catholic Church. She says, well, Dad, you need to be born again. I says, I was born into it. I don't have to be born again. Okay?
Well, and so she is actually right. It says that Jesus said, make sure you're born once from your mother and once from above.
Yeah, but confirmation in the Catholic religion is confirming you believe in Jesus.
That's right. Only that's
born again. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyhow, it's so interesting that
send us your cards and letters and your donations now. We're going to do something very religious. Let's have a collection.
Well, but I mean, you were talking about originally something that's in some circles frowned upon. You were talking about an astrologer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, when I was younger, I was about 15 years of age. I lived in Poughkeepsie, New York, which is where I was born, and then Hyde Park was nearest. That's where Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his wife lived. And matter of fact, Eleanor would sell Christmas trees to my mom at Christmas time it would benefit a charity.
I think they played tennis up there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so, anyway, there was this Mrs. Drew, and I was just playing around with it to see what it's all about. But it turns out Mrs. Drew, who was an astrologist, used to be the astrologist for Franklin Delano Roosevelt, because they knew that Hitler used an astrologist. They needed a really good astrologist to figure out what he would do based on the movement of the stars or something.
See, we keep getting back to politics, but most of the politicians use astrologers.
Do they?
Oh, well, wasn't it Caesar that got the reading from the soothsayer? Beware the Ides of March.
Oh.
He had his own astrologer.
And what were the Ides of March?
March 1st. That's the day he was stabbed.
Oh,
so he had a warning from his astrologer.
Watch out, Caesar. Actually, our engineer here today, his name is Caesar. You don't run into a Caesar too often, do you?
That and Jesus, right?
Jesus. Gloria, Senor Jesus, amigo.
So, of all your interviews, besides me, because you've interviewed me several times, what were your favorite?
Well, I said to the Lord, I said, I was in my career, and I don't know, maybe I don't know, 4 or 5 years into it, I forget. And I said, if you don't give me Billy Graham, then I don't believe you've been in this whole thing. Sure enough, Jeb had an inauguration. I was invited up. There's his publicity agent, Billy Graham, is speaking that day. His publicity agent gave me favor. He liked me for some reason. Said, come on, let's go. We had to walk up because of the traffic after the speech. We go in the back of a hotel, and up comes Billy Graham in a car. Now, he was riding in the front seat on the right. He will not ride in the back of a car, and he won't ride in a limousine. And anyway, I got to help him out of the car because he was getting older than about 90. And we went into the room, and I interviewed him, and he was the nicest, humblest man I've ever met, and he was in the now, and he was there for me. I knew that I was first, and then the people that we were doing the interview for were first. It was nothing about Dr. Billy Graham. He is totally on the give. It's an amazing human being.
It's interesting you say that, because really the biggest issue in life is to not be guided by your ego, but to be guided by what's good for others.
I've come to this new, Stephen, I've come to this new revelation. We go through different periods, we learn different things, and now I'm 69. And the Lord's been teaching me about dignity. In other words, like I'm here to serve Caesar, and I'm here in this room to serve you, above me. Everyone I come in contact with, I'm trying to exercise that I am there. I interviewed, Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson, by the way, is a very intelligent man. Anyway, Mike Tyson, somebody asked him recently, said, do you get offended? He said, I only get offended when I think I'm somebody. See, if you know you're nobody, in other words, I'm no better than you, and you and I are no better than Caesar, or anybody else in these offices of yours up here in Sebastian. When we learn that, and
that's about an inflated ego, right?
And here's the thing about dignity. If we go to the post office and I hold open the door for you, do you ever do that as a guy? Sure. And the person goes, well, you're a gentleman and a scholar. You feel like, oh, geez, thank you very much, Well, and then you're number 3 in line. They're ahead of you. So what? You have to exercise patience. The moment you dignify someone else, you get dignified. And, recently I ran into a homeless guy, and we're talking to him. His name was Robert. It was around 10 o'clock at night, the Publix down at Miracle Mile. And I ended up coming, he was digging stuff out of the garbage, And I honored him by helping him a little. I know I'm going to lose my award for that, but maybe if it inspires other people to give to the homeless, please do. But anyway, we're having a fun time talking. He said, how do you spell that? R-H-E-T-T? I said, that's good. Everybody calls me Rip or Red or Rick. Thank you very much. He said, well, very nice to meet you, Mr. Rhett. And so I looked at him and I said, nice to meet you, Mr. Robert. It was equal.
That's the way it should be, because everyone has value. So let me ask you, how did you become the mayor of the Airwaves?
It's all fiction. I elected myself.
There you go. I love it.
Yeah, but I did copyright it, and I patented it. It cost me $3,000,
Okay.
I got the man and the mic. I got the name, Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the Airwaves. But
you're a very creative person. And so you came up with that and coined that, and it's been with you for how many years?
It flew out of my mouth a few years ago, and Sheriff Gary Wheeler, remember him?
Yes.
He was listening to my broadcast, and I went, who loves you, baby? And so he calls me up the next day and goes, hey, who loves you, baby? And then I realized, I got something there, And so that's how I end the broadcast now. Hey, this is the mayor who loves you, baby.
So as the mayor of the Airwaves, and you've been in Vero how many years?
30 years this year. I moved here July 4th, 1993. Started my radio show July 4th, 1994.
So is there something that you would say that's remarkable about where we were and where we are today in Vero?
Remarkable in what way? When I came here, there was no mall. When I came here, there was no Indian River Boulevard. When I came here, right at kitty corner from where you are over there was the little Chamber of Commerce, much smaller. Of course, in Sebastian here, they've really put in those nice lights down by the water and the sidewalks. And, life changes. Jack Arriman has retired from the restaurant business. And last time I knew, he was in the restaurant delivery business. He has a business that serves napkins and silverware and stuff like that. But what a sweetheart. So I don't know, remarkable.
So do you think it's as nice as it was? Is people as nice as they are?
I think we're the last holdout. This is the Sebastian and Vero Beach, this combined area, the last seaside villages that are really pleasant. You go to the other side of Florida. I love it. My niece and nephew live over there in St. Pete. The sunsets are beautiful over there, but the traffic is horrible. We're here. You come here. I come back from West Palm, go down to Barnes and Noble or to have dinner down there. I come back. There's nobody. Excuse me. I come back. There's nobody around. The streets are empty.
So it's a good thing.
And what's great about a small community? Look,
a little bit of traffic this time of year. Right?
How long have I known you?
Pretty close to 30 years.
Yeah. So we all there is. I mean, this is one place where Hillary was right. It takes a village. In that. I'm responsible to you to be a good neighbor and citizen. You have the mayor of Felsmer who's going to be coming on one of your broadcasts. He's in the green room waiting now. He's a servant to the people, 90 years of age, great guy. We've known each other for years. We may not know that much about each other, but there's a quality to life when you know the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker.
A small town, yes. It's a great quality.
Yeah.
So, as a last remark,
yes.
Okay, what would you like to leave the people with regarding this podcast?
I would just like to say, whether you're poor in pocket, I don't care if you don't have a dime in your pocket, you have power. People seem to want power. They want power because they want to become politically. They want to be famous. They want power. They want to be rich. They want power. Everyone has the power right now, including homeless. I could be walking down the street feeling sad about myself, and some homeless person could look at me and just smile. They have the power to dignify me and give me validity, and I have the power to dignify you. If we will all get back, whether you're far to the left, far to the right, or in the middle, we all need to have dignity for each other, and it makes life far more pleasant when you put others first. It's really great. We're so blind to it because the moment that you give dignity, it comes back to you.
And so I have one thought I just wanted to talk about for a minute, and that's with regard to what is not seen. Okay, so, you hear a lot in conversation today where people are talking about things are changing, and they're not really sure how they're changing, okay? And people, it seems, that are becoming more aware of everything. Okay, maybe it's the internet, that we can see everything on the internet, but they're also talking more about other dimensions, okay? So, for instance, we started off earlier, we were talking about the autobiography of a yogi, okay? And there they talk about the ether, which is being a fourth dimension, okay? And today we're talking about string theory and all of the different possible dimensions. And well, heaven is a dimension too.
Jesus said the kingdom of God is not here or there. It's a spiritual thing. It's something we don't understand. Remember, he disappeared into the wilderness like Moses from the age of 12 to 29 when he started his ministry. It says that he was a man acquainted with many sorrows. What did he go through out there that made him a man of God? Because we all get better. So are things changing? Sure. Look, life is like a river. And you're going down the river and you say, hey, look at that spot on the side of the river. Guess what I'm going to do, Steve? I'm going to go up there, I'm going to get some timber, and I'm going to build a nice little house. And I got everything just picture perfect. I'm going to freeze frame it. Matter of fact, if I could, I'd freeze frame Grandma and Grandpa and the kids and everything. Let it never change. It wouldn't work.
That's right.
Because the river's going to get high. It's going to swoop away your business or your home. You're going to go down the river sooner or later. Change is the only constant. So we have to get used to that.
Stay in the stream of life.
Stay in the stream.
Okay, Rhett, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
I love your TV ads, by the way. You and your son. I'm so glad your son followed in your footsteps. He's a sweetheart. I've always liked him, and I really congratulate you.
Okay, so make sure you stay tuned. get on 89.9. Is that
89.9 FM. And don't forget,
to Rush.
if you run into a situation, don't have to go like this. Oh, I should have called Stephen Lulich.
Thank you, Rhett.
All right.